Hey guys, hope you guys are doing well. And today we are gonna dive into a super simple algorithm which is very beginner friendly. And if you are from computer science background who just got into it, or you are not, you are into programming and you just got started and you just got kind of like familiarized with this syntax and or getting familiar with this whole bunch of syntax and stuff, and you want to practice some algorithm, this is one of the fun algorithms there, but very effective. So this algorithm, we are gonna build a pyramid from Super Mario Bros. This one here. We're just gonna print out these blocks here, okay, these blocks of steps here, and that's it. So let's dive into it, and I'm gonna make a file here. I'm gonna name it pyramid.c, and I'm quickly gonna include my header files here. My standard input, output, and the CSV library. And down here I'm gonna take a main function which is integer, and it's not gonna return anything, that's why we are keeping the parameter void here. Then we're gonna ask the user for the input here, and we're gonna do it from with the help of this function which only takes integer here. So we're basically asking the user for the input here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a variable integer here, and we're gonna store that input right in this variable. Yeah, and we're gonna apply this draw function here, which is gonna draw the height that is provided by the user. So I'm gonna pass in this height. That's it. And this draw function is not provided by any of these libraries that I included here. So we are gonna just build one for ourselves. So this is not going to return anything. We're gonna draw, and we're gonna take a parameter, let's say it's called keep it in. Now inside this, we're gonna do is we're gonna run a for loop, and I'm gonna initiate I to 0, and as long as I is less than n, we're gonna increment the I here. So basically this is a very basic for loop to run into your program. If you're new, you can just Google for this. This is super simple. You just basically initiate this integer, this variable I, and you initiate it to 0, and you're kind of running a condition here that as long as I is less than n, which is this parameter here, I++, that's it. And inside this, we're gonna run another loop here, and this is going to be j equals 0, and the condition is really important here, and this is we're gonna j++. I'm gonna tell you that y is I plus 1. So first, let me finish this, and we're gonna print this hash here, sort of like a representation of the block. And at the end of the outer for loop here, I'm gonna print out the line break. So that's it, and hopefully everything is cool here. Anyway, let's run it. Oh, there it is. Oh, I did not prototype it. My bad. We have to prototype our own function on the top of the program here before main. That's how C works. Gonna make it. Okay, works. Now let's run the program. And by the way, I'm doing this with the help of this integrated development server provided by CS50 and CodeSpace of GitHub. So here it is. You just have to like type make pyramid or like make in order to compile your file and then just run it. This is super simple. So there it is. It's asking for my user input here. So let's say 4. Okay. Ta-da! There it is. And I'm quickly just gonna clear this terminal with this fatal error. Oh my god, this freaks me out. Okay, I'm gonna pyramid. Now how about 5? Okay, it works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let me run through this code and quickly explain the things, what's going on here. Okay, we took a first for loop to iterate over the number of times, which is n here, okay? That's why there is this expression here that as long as this variable is less than n, which is this n, and which is ultimately this height provided by our user. Now this is gonna run this n times, okay, and do something. And what this outer loop is doing here, this is running another loop inside this outer loop. And what this loop is doing here inside here, inside this outer for loop, is that we are initiating another variable named j, okay, and we are initiating to 0, and the condition here is like as long as j is less than I plus 1, not I but plus 1, increment the j plus plus and print this f, okay, print this hash here, my bad. And so how it's happening that when on the first iteration, okay, on the first iteration, if this I is equal to 0, and we're telling the inner loop that, hey, this is the first iteration, so our j is 0, and as long as j is less than I plus 1, we are doing this plus 1. So on the first iteration, when it's 0, we are incrementing this I to 1, so that it prints 1 hash here on the first iteration. On the second iteration, this I is going to be 1, and inside this for loop, this I is going to be 2, because we are incrementing. Basically, we are incrementing 1 on each iteration. So no matter how many number of times if this iteration runs and what's the input number here, this I is going to be incremented by 1, okay, with each iteration, and it's going to print out this number. That's why there is this on the first iteration it prints 1, because I plus 1, and the second iteration it prints 2 because on the second iteration I is equal to 1, and here it becomes 2. That's why it's printing 2. And it goes on, basically that's how it goes on. So let me quickly show you what happens if we do not increment this I here with 1, okay? So basically what happens is, let me recompile this, let me run it, and height, let's say 4 here. You see here, if you look at here, there is nothing on the first iteration. It's nothing, absolutely 0. Why? Because our I is 0 here. So it's printing 0, like nothing here. That's why when we do this, I plus 1, now it prints, let's say 5 now, prints. See, it doesn't matter how many number of times it has to run, and what's the number here, it's gonna print out all of them, and it starts from the first one. So that's it. It's a super simple algorithm to work with, no matter like which language you're learning, whether it's Python, JavaScript, whatever it is. You just go ahead and try to like kind of like fiddle with it. I'm gonna leave the code right below there in the description, and I'm also gonna make another one with JavaScript this time, okay? And I'm gonna leave this video maybe somewhere around here or wherever it is on the screen, or you can go ahead and find in my playlist. Right, have a great day, happy coding, code on.